Everyone, JSD Cool here, and welcome to another episode of Coolcraft Season 7. Now, in the intro there, I was covering up my wool farming building here with this... wool farming building. That's what I built. I built the wool farming building. Covering up the wool farm with the factory-esque building that is on top of it. Now, this is obviously themed after kind of early, like, Industrial Revolution factories, where, if you didn't know why factories looked like this, it's because, well, electric lighting wasn't all that common back then, and they needed to extend that workday as long as possible. Squeeze as much labor out of the meat bags as possible. And so they needed light to do that, so they would make the roofs look like this, and these would be windows to let the natural light in, I think, later in the day, I want to say. It could also have been earlier, but basically this was pointed... Actually, well, it's pointed southward in the northern hemisphere and northward in the southern hemisphere, although I don't think too much industrial revolutioning happened down there. What am I talking about? It's pointed more southward so they could catch more of the sun and light the factory for longer. And yeah, I just thought that was interesting history facts about why buildings looked like this. Alright, sacrifice time as usual, and this seems to be getting quite expensive on sacrificing stuff. I mean... that's a lot of gold for these, but I guess that's what we do until told otherwise. So let's hit it. Okay, that looks good. All right. Oh, okay. At least it's not bad, so, yay! In the last episode, I constructed the wool farm that sits under the exterior that I built at the intro to this video, and it has been working quite well. I have gotten many shulker boxes of wool, although I have noticed that situations like this do keep happening, and I feel like there must have been something that changed relatively recently to enable that to happen, but, yeah, the best I could do, I guess, is just keep fishing out any shulker boxes that get incorrectly put. But yeah, as you can see, it's been working really well for a fairly long time now. A lot of wool. I probably will not go through all this wool in the season, but, you know, we'll see. We'll see what we get up to later in the season. In this episode, I'm finally going to try to solve a problem that I have kind of found myself having around here when I have to construct stuff for my base. So obviously, I'm using a lot of purpur in my build, which means I have to acquire purpur. And there's two ways I can do that. I could go adventure out onto the end islands to just cut down more of the chorus fruit plants, and as you can see, that is starting to become a little bit of a problem, as I have clear cut quite far into the end now, or away from where I base now. Yeah, to no purpur around. Of course, the other option is to grow the purpur locally, like here. However, the problem with this is that I first have to harvest a bunch of these chorus fruits, and getting up to the top of these is a pain, so often what I'll just do is I'll go around trying to shoot a fair amount of these, and then I have to go worry about collecting all of the flowers that drop from this. This is often very annoying, as they often land like that one up there, right up there, and then I have to remember to cut this one down and grab that before I move on. So what I plan to do about this is I plan to build a farm. Well, it's not only really half farm, it's more of a convenient environment with which to grow these things, and that'll make replanting and receiving the flowers back very convenient. So I've gathered materials and planned this space, so let's build up this farm right now in a time lapse. This looks strange. Well, yes, it does, because it does a very strange job, which is improving the experience of collecting chorus fruit. So basically, the way the farm works is, well, pretty simple. You plant the chorus fruit on all the sensor down here. The lighting is just so that mobs don't spawn down here. It also makes it look a little bit more interesting in here. Once all the chorus fruit has fully grown, we'll press a button, and you haven't really decided where that's going to go, but it activates the redstone line back there. That'll trigger this grid of dispensers up here, which I'll just call the showerhead, to shoot a bunch of arrows down to try to pop as many of the flowers as possible. A short while after that, these trapdoors will open, flooding down these platforms to actually break all of the chorus fruit plants. And then all their items will subsequently fall into the water and get washed into these hoppers. Well, they will be collected. Of course, up here, the system is a tad bit complex. We have a bunch of observers and rails to actually trigger all the dispensers to shoot arrows. And we have a fancy minecart distribution system to get the arrows into those dispensers. That is kind of an annoying task and also requires kind of a lot of arrows. Speaking of which, I gotta acquire kind of a lot of arrows. Alright, so after dumping 6 shulker boxes of arrows into the system, each dropper has a stack and 41 arrows, which is quite par for the course. Anyhow, I've gotten a sample of chorus flower plant grown here, and now it's time to demonstrate how a harvest of this thing will work. Alright, now pay attention, because everything here will happen very quick. So I press the button, bunch of arrows rain down, breaking all the chorus fruit, then the water deploys, and sweeping everything away apart from the arrows, and then once the water has retreated, momentarily, we open up the door and collect all the arrows, as they have a 1-minute timer on their despawn, and they are, as you can see by the sheer number of arrows that each dispenser had in it, quite valuable in the system. I have not yet looked at the fortress farm and see how many arrows I can get out of there, but I did get all the arrows that I had in my mob farm, so yeah, that is something. These things are precious, and there is bound to be some loss at some point, so we definitely want to keep holding on to as many of these as possible. Yeah, now let me wait for these hoppers to do their magic, and we'll see exactly how much we got out of that. Alright, here's what we got. Not too much on the chorus fruit side, but over a stack of the chorus flowers, which is way more than we need to actually restock this thing. So overall, it works pretty well. Okay, so as it turns out, I do not have any arrow storage at the fortress farm, so I guess we're just going to be stuck with the amount of arrows that we have here. Hopefully I just pick them all up every single time. And don't put my personal arrows in there. That's also something I gotta figure out. Okay, so up next, I think it's finally time that I build some form of interior for my storage system here, as until now, it's literally just been the shell with the storage system inside of it. No finished floor, no walls to cover up the outside, just this. So I think it's finally time that I get to actually making this place feel a little bit more finished. Alright, here is the interior. As you can see, it is relatively simple. I did deep slate polished, I think. Yeah, polished deep slate on the floors here with deep slate bricks where the items go, slash, I guess, the blocks. The walls, well, the small section of wall has this small little pattern on it, and I decided to use the black concrete that was behind the windows, and extend that into a little bit of decoration. Obviously, at the back here we have the miscellaneous chest right in front of the door, which I kind of poorly planned there. But over here it looks way better, and we just have light gray wool on the ceiling because I didn't know what else to put on the ceiling. Pretty simple that. And I guess with that, I can't really think of anything else I really want to get doing in this episode. And, you know, episode production happens to take a while. Each of the replays that I've used in this video took over an hour to render because, of course they do. Why wouldn't they, those minute or so replays take a whole hour to render? But anyhow, with that, I'm going to have to say thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Please make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe. Check out my game, which is linked in the description, and I will see you on the next episode of Coolcraft Season 7. Bye!